Hello, my name is Marquette Parker and I'm one-third of Group 6. We were assigned former CEO Wyss, and I'll begin by catching everyone up to speed. Swiss medical device manufacturer Synthes develops products for operative treatment in bone fractures through the correction and rejuvenation of human skeleton. During the 1970s, Wyss met the founders of Synthes. Shortly thereafter, he became the head of Synthes USA and eventually the CEO of the entire company. Over the next 30 years, Synthes will become known as the world's largest maker of implants to mend bone fractures. Eventually, Wyss ran across an opportunity to further the company's success when he heard about a small biotech company called Norian. Norian had developed a cement, also known as Norian, which fills cracks and gradually transforms into human bone. In 1999, Synthes acquired Norian for $50 million. Prior to that purchase, the FDA had approved Norian for use in the arm and the skull. However, Synthes executives wanted to promote Norian to treat vertebroplasty. The only problem is the FDA requires Synthes to perform clinical trials that test as safe and effective in order to approve the new proposed use. As a company, they opted to skip the lengthy clinical studies and begin their own market research. From those experiments, they learned that the bone cement caused blood clots when mixed with blood. Despite FDA warnings, Synthes began promoting Norian XR as safe with very little downside risk and eventually sold on the off-label market to spine surgeons that were interested. Although the benefits of Norian seemed miraculous, the side effects for use in vertebroplasty proved catastrophic, and at least 5 people died as a result of those unethical decisions. The patient's right to information is vital because all patients have the right to give consent in treatment decisions, timely access to specialty care, and confidentiality. The role of a doctor is to work with their patient towards the betterment of health. It is no secret that doctors use off-label products frequently, but it is their job to explain all health risks and provide options. Unfortunately, the doctors that administered and or explained Norian to their patients only added security for the pain that they were going through. The patients had no idea they were being subjected to an experimental drug, and that is why the surgeries were considered human experiments. In the essence of purchasing decision, healthcare providers are essentially responsible for selecting new medical devices for each particular clinical group, such as bone, spine, trauma. But the physicians influence the final decision based on the reaction of the final customer, the patient. Due to the economic crisis, however, healthcare systems have been under grave financial pressure. Therefore, increased efficiency and reduced costs are primarily important in the buying decisions of new medical devices, a marketable feature for Norian. The putty-like cement resists against cracking, which allows physicians to manipulate appliances while inserted in the bone during and after the setting. Because of its excellent handling properties, the procedure is invasive and the recovery time for the patient is minimal. The role of the FDA is to ensure that any manufacturer that is trying to sell a drug or medication in the United States is secure, safe, and effective. Nevertheless, the FDA does not control the doctors in the medical field. They are free to prescribe anything they want. Archives of Internal Medicine examined hundreds of millions of prescriptions and found that more than 20% were written for off-label use. The role of the Federal Trade Commission is to simply prevent fraud, unfairness, and maintain competition. Now that we're all caught up, it's time to hear from Mr. Wyss.
Chief Executive Officer, or known as CEO, has many responsibilities in any company. Depending on the size of the company, the CEO is accountable for certain decisions, roles, and obligations. As the CEO position, there must be communication between the board members and the corporation operations. I, Wyss, former CEO of Synthes, was known to micromanage my company and stay anonymous amongst people. I was mostly involved in the decisions that Synthes made as a company. My position as CEO required me to monitor the decisions that would improve the future of the company. Although Synthes was charged with the death of 4 patients because of the unapproved product, my role as the CEO was to approve the actions of the company in order to stay in business. In a company such as Synthes, the CEO must trust the lower management decisions based on the department. I took the risk that I did because I based it on the decisions that were made for the growth of the company. Once again, my name is Hansenberg Wyss, and first of all, I would like to apologize to all the family members and the friends for the loss of their loved ones because of our product. It was never in my plans to have a product that would turn out a disaster. I would like you all to remember that as the CEO of Synthes, there are many decisions and responsibilities. Our vision in this company was to create a product that will save lives and innovate the healing of the bones. My position requires me to monitor the decisions that will improve the future of the company. When I became CEO of this company, I had a vision of creating something that will improve the lives of surgeons and patients. I trusted the boards of directors and the lower level management to implement that vision. However, in the medical business, there is competition, and the board members wanted to push for the launch of a product that was never approved by the FDA. I hope that today the court, the jury, and the people understand that as a company, Synthes does not have control over what doctors or specialists prescribe of their patients. Like I said before, I had the vision of creating a product that would be safe and effective. As a reliable company, I find it hard to believe that we were involved in such a scandal. I was aware of the experiments with the product and the failures. I was always confident in our organization to improve the launch of a product in favor of our company. Although the FDA did approve Norian for the spine procedures, it was up to us, and we were also aware that it needed to be improved for its intended purposes. I would have never gone through with providing an off-label drug. My intentions were different. What I believe should have been done differently was that since I was the former hands-on CEO of the company, I should have witnessed the experiments myself and made the decisions to postpone the launch of a dangerous cement injection and not let the procedures carry on. I should have taken more precautions for the benefit of my company, our success, and the lives of those who were getting injected. Products such as these should be marketed with caution and handled with care and a lot of practice and approval. The launch of a new product, especially medication for serious surgeries, should be marketed to people with their full consent. The regulations of these products should be strict. Products such as Norian XR are intended to be used in surgeries of patients that have problems with their bone marrow. Any product that deals with the health of life of a person should be reviewed and looked in detail and made sure to be approved and safe to use. Thank you very much.
In the case of Ken Lay, the founder of Enron, he was sentenced to prison on the count of commit securities and wire fraud. He lied to the banks with false statements. He was known to be stealing in favor of his company and increasing his assets. Other CEOs are just fined for their negligence. Mozilla, for example, the founder of Countrywide, explained to the court that his decisions were made based on the crisis of the country. He did admit to lending to his closest friends and claimed that he did not know what verified income was. He was fined $67.5 million. However, $20 million was covered by Countrywide and then acquired by the Bank of America. The founders of the banks during the time of the recession were never fined nor sentenced to prison. The economy was going through a crisis and everyone was going straight to the banks to pull out their loans or withdraw their savings before the banks did. There are particular reasons why CEOs avoid suit, and it all depends on the circumstances or position that the company is in during the economical needs of the country. For example, Mozilla was lending house loans to close friends and not recognizing verified income on the applications. During 2006, everyone was buying houses, and in the favor of the company, Mozilla was expanding the business and offering the opportunity to buy a house. The founders of the banks during the recession did not have control of the economical breakdown. The bank holds money and lends money. The CEO is not responsible for the failure when the company's recession diminished the banks at the time. Some advice I would give to future CEOs is to plan accordingly and keep the primary vision in mind. There are many responsibilities and ethical characteristics that must be learned. Understand that stress and anxiety will dominate your daily life. There should be structure, formed within the company and responsible employees that follow the mission of the company. You should make yourself known. However, don't micromanage your staff. You hired everyone for a reason, and you should place trust within your company. Monitor the movement and development for your company. CEOs have limited power because of the board members and other executives. However, understand that you are in charge to push the company to success. And with all that, you have to make the ethical decision that follows the law and morals of the people. Most people think CEOs are to blame for everything and should be the first to fall. However, when the company starts to expand and grow, there is no control over every department for the CEO. It's not an easy task for CEOs. The last advice I have for future CEOs is just continue learning and understand what you are getting yourself into.